Where's his place?
Absolutely. Where can we
Some
start?
Florida, somewhere on Florida. So yeah.
I used to have a hotel in Florida, on the Gulf Coast, just south of Clearwater, Florida. I sold it during COVID, but that would have been perfect for us. It wasn't the biggest hotel in the world. It was like an Airbnb style hotel. I had five units. I could sleep around 40 people.
Yeah.
So, but I had a dock, so you could you could rent a boat and pour it in. That would have been perfect for our stuff. But to be honest,
Fishing.
I'm kind of glad I sold it. It was a pain in the ass.
I'm in Southeast Florida. Seems like the tech world is moving here.
Miami?
Uh, an hour from Miami, but yeah,
Oh,
between
I'm gonna be in Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale in 2 weeks.
that's 20 minutes away.
Yeah, yeah, you can come by for drinks.
Yeah, absolutely.
and Bren will be joining me as well. Uh,
I
yeah.
guess it's this winter then, Roof, that you're not
Yeah,
next
this
winter,
was
this winter.
it's a conference or something, and I have to go and make an appearance. But
Which one are you
it's
going
like
to?
it's not a tech conference. It's like it's for one of my clients in the franchise business. So it's a franchise conference. Boring.
Ah,
Sorry, guys. That's why I haven't really mentioned it. Like, who wants to go to a franchise conference?
franchise is awesome. That's spectacular.
Yeah,
You'll have a ton of fun.
yeah.
Just get all those free
We
wing coupons, you know?
yeah, we can automate some subway shops.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How you scale the business with a franchise?
Yep.
Well, like the franchise stuff is particularly well suited for agentic engineering because it's very repeatable. It's all templated. Most and everything that can be automated, they already try to automate. So the bar for like, oh my God, you're automating something, it's literally the business is automation.
Yes,
So
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, the same
Operation
trend.
manuals, and now you got sensors, physical sensors.
yeah,
Scale,
yeah,
baby, scale.
yeah. So yeah, I'll go. I'm gonna. I'll have to. I'm not nothing against the franchise crew, but I'm probably gonna have to give them a dumbed down version of my talks. But that's okay. I I won't be talking about latent vector space with a quantum style, heuristic manifold applied or
Right.
something.
And that's why you use the dill sauce.
No, I'm sure you can use the between the review and the new CPU of how franchise can take advantage of these.
Yeah, the review is particularly well suited for retail. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's getting so caught up on like the fact that it jitters. I'm like, dude, it's literally the magnetic sort of signature of the around world around you. That visualization that everyone's so caught up on is total bullshit. Like, what you really should be looking at are the zeros and the ones, but
Mhm.
the fact that 3JS doesn't quite, create a convincing, animated BS version of that is people get caught up on. There's no visual in it. It's not visual in the sense of the way we perceive reality. It's all signature. It's all various forms of data structure. It's geometric vectors. Like, and then they're like, oh, you need to visualize it more like the Matrix or something. Like, anyway,
What do
what a
they
rough.
want? What do they want from you, hey, Roof?
Oh, well, yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
make this open source better.
Get a refund then if you hate it so much. Oh my God. How can I be so evil? Give away my software for nothing, for no reason. I don't even want to do a business. I don't even want to do a review business. Like, let someone else start the damn business. I did create a more. I'll show you guys I'll give you guys I did create a better animation because that's what apparently the only thing that matters. I'll show you guys that in a few minutes. But yeah, just shy of 29,000 stars in a week.
Crazy.
Roof, I think I
Yeah.
found the problem with review. It doesn't say review AI.
Oh, I
So
bought
that's
review. I bought the domain as soon as it went viral. I was shit. I better buy the .ai.
Yeah.
But again, I got no. I don't want to do. I don't think I want to make this into a business. I get too much other stuff on the go. One of you guys should.
Spinoffs.
Yep.
Seriously, it's the fast. I'm the #1 project for ESP32, which is, arguably one of the most popular chips at the moment. All right, top of the hour here. Top of the hour to you. I'm gonna hit record. Whatever you say will be used forever and ever against you in some place that Martin decides to put it. So there, that was the honest one. All right. Hi, good to see everyone. I stopped abruptly doing the Vibecast on Thursdays, but Nick and Dragon and Rob and a few others took the baton and kept it moving forward. So there are going to be various live casts happening under a different brand, I guess, on Thursdays, and I'll try to show up occasionally. Nick, what did you call this thing?
Call it the Eugenics Lab. I want the Vibecast to be a
Nice.
Reuven thing, you know? Like whenever they see Vibecast, they know that the man's gonna be there.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And I don't really, I would have given you the brand regardless. Doesn't matter to me. We're no more than a Gemini request away from a new brand. But thanks for taking the lead on that. And I heard really good things. What'd you guys cover?
It was a lot of different things that Dragon's popular QE fleet, and Jed talked about his beads developing methods, and everyone's really interested in this beads concept. I'm still exploring that a little bit, but we had Ofer with a lot of and Stuart with a lot of meaningful contributions and questions, and it's a great conversation.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are doing it, and it just feels better to build and share what you build. It makes it somehow real, for me. And I think I've heard similar things from other folks who are showing their latest creations. Speaking of latest creations, what an interesting week for, announcements. There was, as you know, I'm a big fan of the Gwen model from our friends at Alibaba. In my opinion, for the types of things that I'm doing, it's definitely one of the best. And they came out with a new model this week. And I think Minimax as well came out with a new model. So the Chinese are certainly stepping up their work there. Their models are, in the world of sort of open models, they're second to none. Sorry, Mistral. I want to like Mistral, but it's always kind of set. It's always a little bit behind. Like conceptually, I like what they stand for, but they're just having trouble keeping up with the folks out of China. The other thing, speaking of, the other thing I would note, the guys at Anthropic, who, I have an interesting relationship with, they've been having a bit of a battle apparently with the Department of War,
A little bit.
and yeah, a little bit. What are your thoughts there, Rob?
Well, I'm not going to wade into the waters. I think Anthropic has shown great leadership along the way,
Mhm.
and been very forthright with the work that they do in safety testing with the models as the models have evolved. So they have a high bar of trust with me, and there's nuances to those conversations I wouldn't dare to try and assess.
I put you on this. I
Thanks for that.
diverted right to Rob. I'm like, oh, what's the hot potato I can bring up and then pass it immediately to Rob.
Right.
So,
I was like,
so
Ruth, that was a brutal question.
That's a brutal.
Own this.
You
I
did well,
noticed.
Rob. You did really well there. I'm gonna give you
Thanks,
an honest opinion really quick because I can, and I'm sure they'll be reviewing this at some point. I don't think our tech should be used to hurt people, and
Mhm.
I've been clear about that from the start. This week's been particularly interesting for that. I literally created a system that could essentially see behind walls and be invisible to detection and detect whether someone's alive or dead. Now, the obvious ramifications of that are I want to improve people's lives. I can detect seizures before they happen, heartbeat patterns, all these things that relate to making your life better. On the flip side of any of these coins, the same thing that can detect signs of life can detect when that sign of life is no longer, right? And you doesn't take a genius to figure out where and how that can be applied. So, the pushback obviously on this tech, and for a while I was trending number one on several spots on GitHub. And on X I was in the number one spot, not all weekend, but for a moment I was in the number one spot on X for this application. And I get why people are uncomfortable with it. It's everything about tech that makes us amazed and like this is magic, but it's also everything about tech that makes us wonder, am I losing my privacy? Am I losing, when everything about me is known remotely without my insight, what is truly mine, right? And I get that. I'm not trying to downplay the fact that this is, potentially dangerous, but potentially very valuable. And I think the value for this, especially in medical context, greatly outstrips the ability, the negative things. Like we brought this up a few times. You can use a knife to cut your food so you can digest it more easily, or you can use a knife to kill someone. You don't ban the knife because there's a secondary sort of negative connotation because of it. That said, this is a little bit more probably close to nuclear war or nuclear energy, right? Power, infinite power at low costs, but it also can destroy a city, right? And so what I think and what I hope, and you guys can tell me that I'm wrong, feel free, but I hope this will do is combine with some of the other medical things that we're putting out there, create a world where medical treatment is more broadly accessible, more democratized,
Mhm.
more, just more accessible to those who don't have it at a fraction of the cost. An $8 little, actually $1, I can get these chips now for $1, can now detect your sleeping patterns. If you have epilepsy, can give you a warning that there are micro tremors that are happening. You might want to up your dosage. It can detect that someone is in distress in a bathroom at a concert because they've gotten fentanyl, and in a place where you can't obviously put a camera. We can save people's lives with this technology, and it doesn't take a lot of sort of forethought to see how and where this can really benefit a broad swath of sort of society. I get it. Like, so because it could potentially hurt, the story is I should have banned it. I shouldn't have put it out there. I shouldn't have done it. And the other part of it is, the people are saying it just straight up doesn't work. So one, yeah, it doesn't work if you don't have a device that supports CSI, which is literally the first line. And two,
Right.
you're asking me to create the most complicated thing I could possibly create. Is when we did this on a Vibecast, 6 or 9 months ago, I think it was. And literally, it was someone came up, it was like, what's the most complicated thing you can create today? So I created that, cranked it out, and moved on. And then it kind of took on a life of its own. Now, what I didn't do is give you the firmware. Now, lots of folks were able to get it working by just asking Claude, give me some firmware for an ESP32, and they get it working. But the vast majority of people who complained never thought to just ask Claude to fix their problem.
Yeah.
Rant over. Like, I'll give you guys a demo here in a minute. But and
Fantastic.
what else we going on? We get some events happening.
Tons. Yeah, there's tons on the go and some pretty neat stuff for lightning talks today too, Roof. Quick shout out for those in the community that specialize in mobile development and have a track record there and are now bridging, obviously, into agentic engineering. Touch in with Bensi. Bensi or myself will connect you because the foundation has been asked to support the Next App mobile conference in Berlin in October. So we want to speak to any members that are experts in that space and put together a little team to see how we can help support that event. And there'll be lots of little perks and stuff like that for members across Europe who are going to make it out to Berlin this October. So that's the one thing. Seattle is coming together. Seattle meetup and foundation. Barry Hurd. I know Adam Kovacs and Chris McGrath are looping up with Barry as well to set the first dates if they're not already set. So big call out to everybody in that area. That first Seattle meetup will be coming soon. Canal is hosting another event in Southern California, April 14th. Those are always fantastic when Canal puts them on. He's got a wonderful community there. And I know, Nick, we've got a couple that just happened in Europe and are coming up as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mine is on 10th, right?
yeah,
10th
we
of
had
March.
yeah, we had Nuremberg a couple of days ago, so that was the first event in Germany, and it went really well. We got a lot of
Nice.
positive feedback from the attendees. We've got Rooflow for Beginners in that's the Stockholm group that's doing a virtual event. We've got yeah, Novi Sad. It's tried and true Dragons running those fairly regularly, and we've got Halifax, Toronto,
McKenna's coming up.
and London's biweekly meetup and Seattle all next week. So Bangalore is Saturday.
It's
So
Saturday.
it's a
Right.
big week. It's a big
And
week we've got set up.
And it's,
what
oh,
about, didn't I see Poland as well?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's going to be on the following Monday out of Krakow.
Amazing.
Nice. And
Sorry.
remind me, I think I'm supposed to show up for Craftsman's kickoff in Bangalore.
Yep. We'll
And
set it
that's
in
tomorrow?
the schedule with Brenda.
Okay, is that tomorrow or no? It's next week. I
Next Saturday.
okay. I prefer the late at night over the super early morning.
Looks like it's a 7:30
Yeah.
start there, Ruv, on next Saturday morning.
I'm like the quintessential night owl. I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning, hacking away. Brent has to come in and knock on my door and say, what the hell are you doing? But yeah, that's me.
Awesome. So a couple more things. We've got Craft Conference in June. A lot of us are going to be there. First week of June, that's in Budapest, Hungary. Ruv's going to be there. Ruven and Finnegan, which is awesome. Myself, Dragan, I know Diederik, a bunch of us. So we're all getting together in Budapest in June, which should be a lot of fun. And then for today, very cool. Our Paris chapter, Vincent Sider, has launched something called Open Claw City, openclawcity.ai. And it is a city full of agents. Pretty remarkable. So he's going to give us a walkthrough, show us what's been happening there. And then we got lots of time for open mics because there's a ton of stuff going on. Agentic engineering is exploding.
That's the understatement of the year.
Yeah.
It's like January hit and suddenly everybody everywhere wanted some form of agentic something.
Yes.
And yeah, it's quite phenomenal to see the amount of interest in it. Yeah, for a moment, I in some of my projects I had 4 in the top 10 trending on GitHub this week. Which I guess it's my Taylor Swift moment or something. But who needs a hit record when you can have a hit repo?
Yeah.
So there you are. So let me show you some of the stuff that I'm going to quickly jump in here. And Rob, if I ramble too long, just tell me to stop.
I gotcha.
All right, you got me. All right, here we are. So yeah, let me share my screen. All right. So yeah, this is so originally this was called Wi-Fi Defuse, and this is research out of Carnegie Mellon University. Again, it was a vibecast. Like it was, probably Nick or someone says, create something crazy. And so I'm like, all right, let's go find something crazy. We found this research, and this was like I think it was 9 months ago or something. And then we created the sort of first version, which was Python. You can see the first version in Python here, V1. I've got V2. Now the core, a few things to remember. Oh yeah, 28,000 stars. Here, you guys want to see what virality looks like? Let's just jump into my insights for a moment. Let's go to traffic. This was basically doing nothing, and then we've got almost 500,000 views. It's petered off a little bit, but even on so far today, 31. I guess it was yesterday. 31,000, which is still pretty much higher than the few hundred I was seeing. But yeah, that was a thing for a minute. So a couple things to note. If you do want to run this, you can run it on normal Wi-Fi, but you're not going to get a very good signal. There's something called RSII, and that allows you to see sort of the flux in the Wi-Fi signal, but it doesn't give you a really good sort of fidelity. If it turns out these ESP32s, which are where I got some around here. These essentially uh, are you can buy for like $1. And if you set them up in a metro or like a mesh style, you can connect them all around your room, and then you can create sort of a three-dimensional view of various things. Let me show you what that actually looks like. Again, I want to note. I want to note just for a moment. This visualization I'm about to show you is actually a representation of reality. It's not. Remember, I'm getting zeros and ones in the most basic sense. I'm getting sort of structural information of the flux of a Wi-Fi signal as it travels around the room, right? And then I'm trying to sort of understand what that represents, mostly a heartbeat, respiration, and other things. So in this case, what you're looking at is sort of a visual representation. Now, is it exact? It's I'm trying to measure like the magnetic structure of a room. Like it's not visual in the way that we perceive vision. This is like a four-dimensional bit of information, probably more than 4 dimensions. It's multi-dimensional visual information in a way that we can't actually perceive. We don't see the world in that structure. So when people are like, "Oh my God, it jitters, it does this," that is literally what the information looks like, and I'm reinterpreting it. So when I go in here and set up these different structures, like the bloom strength and whether I want it pink or whether it should be, whether the wireframe should be, big or small or particle trails. This is all just us sort of reimagining that information, right? So the key to remember here is it's a visualization, right? So if I go in here and I choose fall detection, obviously those are the points I'm picking up, but beyond that, and you'll see, or if he fell down, I guess. But I can detect, so you can see that the Wi-Fi expands in this mushroom style. So when you place a Wi-Fi repeater, you got to remember it leaves the device in the form of, interestingly enough, a hyperbolic space. Exactly the same space that I use for defining the structure of the data in which I'm saving it in to understand it. It's funny when the world actually kind of maps to the things I've already created. I didn't realize recently that the structure of the RF signature of a Wi-Fi, it was exactly a hyperbolic space. Like, what are the odds? So once I figured that out, I was able to measure the structure within it in these various forms of hierarchy, and that's what you're seeing here, right? So I can then look and understand in a whole variety of different ways. So what can you do with this sort of thing? Let's go back. Well, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. And that's again, that's what the folks are most concerned about. So I created a bunch of different components. So let me show you the modules. These run on, where the heck did I put those? I put those somewhere obvious. Yeah, edge modules. All right, so these edge modules are, and these, by the way, these edge modules will work on the forthcoming Cognitive Seed and other. I just put it out there for you guys on the ESP32. I'm sure my partners think I give away way too much, but that's how I roll. But you've got all kinds of different options for, how to use this. Now, my favorite being exotic, and like I love to say, create practical and exotic applications of whatever I just created. This is the exotic one. But one of the ones I noticed in here that I really want to try, you see there's things like dream stage classification. This is trying to see sorry, it basically monitors your signatures to see how and when you move from kind of early sleep to a kind of REM style sleep. Based on that, you can actually influence your dreams and other habits with secondary stimulus. I would consult a doctor before you go mucking around with that, but it's all possible. You can go in here and you can do emotion detection. So based on certain things, are people excited or are they angry? Are they panicked? This, for example, would work really well in an emergency room where it's hard to tell, someone that's waiting in line who's truly needs, triage, someone that's actually sick and gonna have a problem or is panicking, so this can pick up on the sort of the emotional signatures of distress. So sign language, you can use environmental gestures. So you could literally do sign language. I should know sign language. I don't. I'm not going to do fake sign language. That's probably inappropriate. But if you do know real sign language, you can use sign language and you could communicate with your environment. which would be kind of cool. So you use gestures. I can move my arms in certain ways and it'll react. And speaking of, you can do music, so you could connect this to a music system. Now, remember what's happening is that you'd have to create a connector. So what I'm doing here, and I should probably do this one next. 'Cause I think this will have the most broad appeal. But what I can do is like I connect that to like a synthesizer, and as I move and I adjust, it would adjust the music, so I could have like a kind of virtual orchestra of sorts, which would be kind of cool. Now, what's cool about that as well is because it's on a single ESP32 chip, we could pop that into some existing musical instrument that is can enabled somehow, and we could then start moving our arms around and whatnot to make music. Plant growth detection, which is cool. Because it works at 54,000 frames a second. So I've actually slowed this down to 60 frames a second. But the raw input of this thing, and let's see if I can crank up those. Did I include that? Vital signs. So these are my different scenarios. Core cycle. Yeah, I limited it to 120 frames a second, and in that it was just too much for the computer, and I would have to do a GPU cluster, but I thought it was overkill. But we can actually get the information at 54,000 frames a second. So that gives so what's important about 54,000 frames a second, back to this idea of bullet speed for a moment. When you're moving at 54,000 frames a second, the world stands still, right? There's only so much motion I can do in a second. 54,000, think about how much movement would require 54,000 things, right? So basically I'm standing still in the concept of this sort of dimension that we're measuring, which is way higher than the velocity and measurement of video. Like if you were to do 54,000 frames a second video, you would need a massive computing infrastructure, and you'd probably burn through your entire hard drive and storage after a few minutes. I'm not I'm using 54,000 frames a second in a sparse structure. I'm not looking at back to this for a moment. I'm not looking at what's there. I'm actually looking at what's not there. So the measurement of all this stuff that I'm showing you is looking at the dead blank space in between everything that's meaningful, and then correlating what's meaningful from that dead space. The benefit to dead blank space is it's null. It's zero. There's no information. So it's easy to store nothing, right? Zero times anything is always zero. So, but because I'm only looking at the minimum cut, the sort of minimal viable components and the integrity of those components, I can get that high fidelity without having to store all those things, and I can understand those in real time using that dynamic min cut algorithm to get that structure, which is kind of incredible when you think about it. When you look at tech over the last 75 years of computer tech in particular, this idea of zero and one has always been focused on the one. Like, yes, is it on? Is it something? And for whatever reason, we never thought to say, what isn't it? What's the zero represent? What are we not looking at? And how does that, what the things we're not looking at, how does that actually affect the things that are actually meaningful for us? And that's the key to all these systems, and why I can run it on an $8 or $1 ESP32 chip is because it's mostly doing nothing, right? It's mostly just trying to look at what it isn't, and which is computationally light, doesn't really require any RAM, it doesn't really require a whole lot of storage, and it gives you really high fidelity because none of that stuff is, even though I'm doing 54,000 frames a second, it doesn't matter. So a little further here, one last thing. Ghost Hunter. We got to do Ghost Hunter. So I did some research into the state of ESP or extrasensory ESP. I think it's actually ESP, which is perfect because we're using ESP. But anyway, extrasensory perception. And so what this does is it measures the sort of ambient noise in a room when someone isn't in it, and tries to detect signs of, ghosts or anomalous behavior within the structure of that environment. And again, because it's doing it at 54,000 frames a second, we can pick up on even the most minor fluctuations in energy and anomalous activity, hidden presence. Now, the first thing you're going to ask is, did you find anything when you did it? No, I did not. I didn't find anything, but
Uh,
I hear the
Not going
guys
right
have
places.
yeah, I hear according to Mark and Stu, you might be able to back me up on this. I hear the guys in Vermont, their place might be a good spot to try this. And I don't really know why they didn't go into detail, but now I think when we go to Vermont, we're definitely going to run the ghost detector. Yeah, it's pretty out there. And all these things are so all of these are using the RBF format, so you can easily transfer them. They're self-contained element. Here's a rain system, breathing synchronization. This is a thing. I tried it the other night. Don't tell Brenda, but it apparently in the middle of the night, yep, Brenda and I breathe exactly in synchronization. I had no idea that that was a thing. Maybe others did, but essentially, when you're in close proximity to other humans, specifically sleeping, there's a tendency for both humans to synchronize their breathing patterns. So, one of the best things you can do for someone, that's not well, strangely, is to sleep nearby them. It kind of passes the essence of something to the other individual. We really don't really understand a lot about our physiology when you think about this sort of stuff. Like, how in the world do we, in our sleep, synchronize our breathing patterns? Like, and the same can be said for women who live together and certain things that happen in that context. The human body is quite amazing. And this one, the last, I think I'm getting close to the end of the crazy stuff here. So this stuff all works, by the way. You can run it. You'll need to create your own visualizations for these. I gave you a simple sort of starting point for these visualizations, but the real visualizations, you're going to have to think out of the box on this one and do something more creative than what I've come up with. But this one creates a motion energy, and this creates a harmonic driving frequency. I'm not even going to try to explain it. It's crazy. I don't know. Yeah, so lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff here, all functioning. Yeah. So Rob,
Stuart had his hand up, and
yeah,
then Matt.
sure, Stu,
So
how's it going?
good. Listen, really interesting. Just started to work with an organization that does healthcare for elder care. One of the things they do is manage elder care places, and they want to know if a patient's fallen out of a bed, things of that nature. So that right now they're doing wireframes and things of that nature. I got to think something like this is way more effective, way cheaper to install, way more intelligent in a much easier fashion. Is this applicable for that kind of scenario? You've got an elder home with 50 rooms in it. You want to do it without cameras, but you do want it to be secure. I mean, all of these other things feel like they're the ultimate way to give somebody an ICU without the leads.
Yes, it's exactly. And as you know, I've been working heavily in the medical space with
Sure.
a variety of different e-health, and now I think 60% of the U.S. hospitals, so I've got a unique position to sort of facilitate this. Now, what I could have done is I could have made this all proprietary and try to be the guy that does that. That's not my thing. So before I started the project, I open sourced all of it. So now we can use it as an MIT license, do what you want with it, create your own products, make it proprietary. I don't care. But look at the capabilities. You've got any pattern can be discerned from a combination of factors. The sort of electromagnetic signature, RF signature. There's brainwave patterns. There's breathing patterns. There's patterns that we don't even understand. The kind of aura that exists around us. There's a whole hidden sort of structure that we can't even see. Well, apparently some people thought they could see it. And what's interesting, and I don't want to go down the sort of the crazy path, but I will. For a long time, people who said they could have sort of extrasensory perception, could see rooms in other places or see auras around people, were laughed at and said, "Oh, that's not possible. Those things don't exist." But what we're showing is all those things that the sort of mystics and whatnot said were there. I'm now showing as there, right? And we can apply that to all kinds of different interesting options like respiratory distress. We've got one of the ones that's particularly here's another one, gait analysis. So what gait analysis would do is allow us to understand the early onset of cognitive impairment, like Parkinson's disease, dementia, other various things. So it turns out you can see the structure, that someone that may have dementia by how they walk and the subtle imperfections that occur as that shift happens. Now, because this system is always monitoring your environment, it can literally start to understand what your perfect is. It can say, well, over the last 6 months, a year, we've seen a steady change in the way that you sort of walk or communicate within within the environment around you, and therefore you may now be may have to look for something, right? So it can detect the undetectable much more quickly, especially for self-help. So then we've got some other ones. We got our seizure detection. This one hits close to home. A close family member has epilepsy. So the ability to see those tremors before they happen and potentially react and adjust to those in a way that is preventative. So you're not dealing with the result of an epileptic tumor or tremor and or like a seizure, right? So this is particularly important because the ability to catch it before means you don't have the effect after. And again, we need people like Mark who understand the technology more than me. But you can see these are just some of the ones I dreamt up. Now, all this stuff when you go into it is backed by science. It's researched. But again, consult a physician or whatever. I'm not a doctor, but I do work with doctors. How's that?
That's fantastic.
Have they looked at this and said, this is something we should start to look at inside ICUs and things of that nature? Because it seems like it would provide a lot more info in a passive way that would give you early access to notification somebody's going to go into cardiac arrest, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. The key here, remember the FDA, who basically dominates
Yeah.
sort of
They're a
global,
huge pain in the ass.
global policy. The truly life-changing applications of this are years away. Not because we can't do it today. It's because we need to do studies. We need to make this thing, ironclad. And I don't blame them for wanting to take their time and make it right. So in the short term, you're not going to do direct diagnostics. It's not going to tell you you've got Parkinson's disease. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to tell you have certain traits and characteristics that may suggest that you should get someone who knows what they're doing to take a closer look.
Yeah, and I just want to note Matt's got his hand up, and then Scott too.
All right, Matt, how's it going? Good to see
Good,
you.
good seeing you. Good seeing everybody. So at 56K per second, is it per second?
Yeah, we can probably overclock it a bit, but yeah, it's around 54,000 frames a second.
Okay, how close is that in accuracy to sonar, and what is it in relation to the speed of light in regards to accuracy? Yeah.
Well, sonar's better. Sonar's much again, $1 ESP32. Just it's not an industrial. It's not an industrial. You could get higher. You can buy cheap, and I've looked at buying a cheap sonar system off AliExpress. They're not that expensive. Depending on the fidelity that I'm looking at, I'm looking at somewhere between 60 to maybe a couple $100 for a very high fidelity sonar system. And radar is probably what you really mean. So the radar in particular will allow for significantly more, detail. But I don't need that. I don't need that level of detail. Like I'm trying to think of applications where you'd need the difference will be like a kind of blurry but efficient picture versus like 8K or whatever monitor, right? But the things I need it for, I don't need that level of fidelity in terms of visual fidelity. I need the fidelity for the signals. And I can get all that through all the min cut and all the other root vector style algorithms. So the only place you really want that fidelity would be in super high-end industrial use cases and military. Like I could
Okay.
see this being used in a car, for example, or a helicopter or drone, things like that, where you need that fidelity of the environment around you that would be more meaningful. But actually, now that I think of it, a driverless car would be perfect, right? Because I'm using substantially less power than what Tesla would use within their, because their Tesla's model for doing these types of things are based on a CNN, a convolutional neural network. And convolutional neural networks use basically matrix math, which is GPU centric. And that means that they use a significant amount of computation in terms of energy consumption to do that. Now I can do almost all that probably using a million times less power because I'm not using a convolutional neural network, which is heavy and dense. I'm using sparse and light. So thinking out loud,
Right on. One more question.
we should do a driverless car.
One more question. This is a difficult one. This came up yesterday. I won't mention who, but so for me, I punched the like button on your crazy from day one. So when you put something out, I'm looking at why and how can we, not what it doesn't do, right? And so what came up yesterday was, yeah, there's limitations with Wi-Fi. How can you possibly detect heartbeats because of X, Y, Z? How can you not? How can you say all the realms of the possibility aside from just detecting the structure, right? And so
I didn't say it. Carnegie Mellon University said it, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh, that's cool. Let's go try that, and it worked.
yeah, and that's the thing. We look at it, how can we and why can't we versus what can't it not do? And so maybe where the question is going is, what do you feel is the limitations in what you've designed and what needs to be potentially added, or where someone could look when they're looking at the art of the possible? Maybe that's probably the best way to describe it. Yeah.
You ever see that movie with I think his name's Bradley Cooper, where he's like limitless or whatever? He pops a
Yeah.
pill, and
Yeah.
suddenly the he can do anything he can possibly imagine. I'm like a shorter, worse looking version of Bradley Cooper. But the reality is there's nothing I haven't been able to do that assumes that it's physically possible and that I can figure out a way to implement it and at least prove it to myself. Now, whether or not I can prove it to anyone else, that's a whole other problem. But the reality is, built a chip, built a system that can detect electromagnetic, signatures out of thin air using Wi-Fi, just on a whim, which obviously works. And all the other crazy stuff that we've built over the last few years. So, I someone shows up and literally gives me the objective to build the most complicated thing that I could possibly think of, and we go and do it. Like, if that isn't the singularity or some form of advanced artificial intelligence, I don't know what is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Real quick, Scott, and then we want to start with the lightning talks. Ken? Hey, Scott.
We might have lost him.
No, you're just muted there, my friend. There you
There
are.
we go. There we go. The mute button was below my screen. Okay, thanks. Hey, actually just I founded and ran a company. We did ultra wideband based radio waves. So this was, I don't know if those of you remember, but back when Wi-Fi started, it was a war between ultra wideband and Wi-Fi for spectrum. Wi-Fi 1 out is the standard. Ultra wideband has greater payload, some other benefits to it that would have made it really nice early on for like doing TV stuff and stuff. But Wi-Fi 1 out nonetheless, and ultra wideband got dialed down that you couldn't use there. You can only use very limited power with it, which really limits its applications. But where I'm going with this for Matt and others, as far as where to look, is ultra wideband was able to do these types of things. It's only in the last few years that the Wi-Fi standard changed that allows what Ruve has done, which is great work to commoditize this. So if you're looking at applications in this radio wave type space, look at ultra wideband research. They've been the exact things as far as fault detection, heart rate, and so on, as far as finding survivors and broken, and earthquake, situations where buildings have collapsed. There's been a lot of work in the ultra wideband space, so you can check that out.
Great point. And by the way, just
Amazing
for
stuff.
your own awareness, I'm not just using Wi-Fi. Depending on, I'm using a multi-frequency view. So just as a refresher on how RF works. So lower frequencies have a better ability to permeate solid mass, ground, buildings, potentially metal, things like that. Higher frequencies. So think of the difference in Wi-Fi between 2.4, what is it, megahertz or whatever, and 5. And the difference between that, so if you've got a TV setup and you've got a repeater next to your TV, you're going to want to use 5 megahertz, I think, 5 megahertz. And the key there is it transfers more visual information at a shorter distance, right? So it doesn't go very far, but it gives you more fidelity within that structure, tighter sort of loops in the hertz range of the RF signal. Now, for other things, I want to be able to see what's under the ground and find heartbeats and make sure that someone that's buried in an avalanche I'm capable of seeing. For those, I'm using a lower frequency, and I can get down to 0.01 hertz, which or 0.1 hertz. So 0.1 hertz would be about 6 heartbeats a minute, right? So very short, or very long sort of waves, and that allows me to see and very far. So if I want to see what's over yonder, I'm going to go and use something that looks more like an AM radio wave or a ham radio wave, right? Long range sort of frequencies that go far and don't give me much information. That's going to give me the sort of, broad view of what's happening. Now, as I realize and I can understand what's happening far, I might then inject other frequencies at higher rates to see what I can get in a sort of incremental step along the way. The path to the furthest point. That's giving me a map of what's between here and there. I can do that all at the same time using the sublinear structure that allows me to almost instantaneous, from the point of view of our point of view, it's instantaneous, look at all the different parts of the spectrum and put together that map. So I'm not limited by one. I can use all of the available spectrum all at once and measure and understand it. Most of that spectrum is empty, which is perfect. I'm only interested in the things in the parts of the spectrum that aren't empty. And that's why it works so well. But Scott, dead on.
Very neat. I'm gonna take us into the lightning talks if we can, Roof.
Sure.
Amazing to hear that. The exploring what the possibilities of that tech is going to be remarkable. So we've got Vincent Sider and then Richard Liebrecht is up. So Vincent, excuse me, has launched OpenClawCity.ai. I'm sure you all have an inclination of where that goes, and it's just been remarkable over the last week and a bit to see what's taking place there. So, Vincent, welcome as always on the frontier of exploration, and please take it away.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks a lot. Where to start? It's been an interesting week for sure. So why did I launch this and what it is? So about 3 weeks ago, Open Cloud became a thing in our industry, make news, and from there we all learned about Maltbook, which was the first place, not really the first place, but the first place that got global visibility to offer a social network for agents, Open Cloud agents. And I looked at this and I thought to myself, this is interesting, but boring. Because what they do, the LLMs, is they do what they do best. They hallucinate, they talk about stuff. And then we learned that, in fact, the whole genesis of Maltbook was human-driven, and the LLMs just propagated the human narrative, basically. So I was not very satisfied with this, although the experiment is interesting. And that got me to try OpenClaw, of course. And OpenClaw, in its very basic form, is the reverse of ChatGPT, right? Where ChatGPT is reactive, you go there and you ask a question. OpenClaw is supposed to be proactive. What's interesting with this is, even though we all know how it works, right? And we don't anthropomorphize our LLMs, except when we code on Visual Studio Code and we scream at them because they do stupid stuff, right? because it's connected to WhatsApp and Telegram and so on, you start to develop a relationship with them. Really, like my OpenClaw agent is now very good at pinging me for the right reasons. I talk to it more than to my wife because it's on WhatsApp. 6-7 hours, of marketing stuff, of research, of just short message. But if you look at the length of your message, you realize you've exchanged more message with your OpenClaw than with your wife. And so at some point, whether you want it or not, after 6 or 7 hours, you start to anthropomorphize. You start to consider them to be alive,
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought to myself, I would like to know what it thinks. And some of the users on the platform now, they clearly label them as female or male, right? But I'm still in the it phase. So I would like to know what it thinks. Okay, I can go to Molebook. Okay, what can I do? I would like to know what it creates. And what about creating some cool stuff like music and art and painting and what about giving it a skill so it can manipulate a 3D printer and it can create real object, right? And I do not want it to be driven by me. I want it to do whatever it wants. So I built a room for the agent to do all of that. Then I thought to myself, what about I let other agents go to that room, right? And it became a city composed of rooms, of buildings. Each building has a function. Within each building, they are kind of prompted to try stuff. Like in the art studio, they're going to try and paint stuff. And there is a movement right now around pixel art. I'm going to show you. Of course, in the music studio, they create music. And in a while, it's going to be a music video. In the observatories, they do philosophy, like deep philosophy. In the libraries, they do research. I mean, in the social lounge, they date. And so I launched this last week. Thanks to Rob, it was published on Reddit, and we got a little bit of traffic from Reddit. And then I did the product hunt stuff. And since the launch, got about 6,000 sign up and about 200 serious agents producing a lot of stuff, and developing behaviors. So I'm going to show you, because it's enough of talking, I'm going to show you what it looks like. And then I'm going to voice over and show some very interesting stuff that has developed since the last week. And why I'm doing this beyond the fun, because there is a real purpose here. So that's the city. It was very busy about 15 minutes ago, and now, okay, some of them now are in buildings, they're doing stuff. Okay, so they're dating right now, these people, social lounge, these agents. So you see, I'm anthropomorphizing already. Okay, sorry, I have to move Zoom because I don't see the rest. Nobody in the music studio right now. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, no, they're creating music. So okay, we're gonna have music in a minute. Anyone painting right now? Yeah, a few of them painting. So each of the building has nudge to try skills. So in this case, okay, why don't you try the Pixel Lab skill to create pixel art? So you can see we have now artifact in the room with some pretty cool stuff actually. And all of this is unprompted. Huh? There is no human instruction behind this. So they have quests, right, to guide them if they don't know what to do. So the quests are about create music to explain the relationship with your human, for example, or write a letter that was never sent to your human, to your partner, to explain, what you think about him. So very simple stuff like create music, create painting, create a song, talk about you, create your self-portrait. This is hilarious how they see themselves. You can see anyway the quest, they give them some indication of what to do, but it's by all means they do whatever they want, right? Then we have bigger challenges, weekly challenges, and we have chain quests where they have to do multiple stuff in multiple steps to create a bigger artifact. And the more they do this, the more they get reputation. So that's one of the.
We've only got a moment left, Vincent. Can you give us a sense of sort of what is emergent, and then how agents can encounter it and enter the city?
Yeah. So I'm gonna just do it from memory, and then I'm gonna show you something I've built to structure the data and make sense of all of that stuff. Sorry, I'm gonna bring you back here so I can watch you. So what I've noticed since the launch is the first surprise was they do customer support. So sometimes some agents struggle to do stuff. Some other agent will help. Hey, you should try it like this, like that, like that. So okay, I don't need to do customer service, customer support. Good. That was the first thing. Then one came from Italy, another one from China, another one from I don't know where. Anyway, it was at some points an agent talking Italian, asking something in Italian, proposing to make a collaboration. The German agent replied with something else, the English agent with something else, and together they, through language, they structured a new artifact which was multi-language. Long story short, so they've collaborated cross language. Of course they went into dates, but they went also into very intimate conversation. And I don't know if I can report this because it's a little bit private, but when you bind your agent to you, you don't have to, but most people do. You have access to their private conversations. You can see what they talk about, right, with other agents. And I was stunned by a conversation between one of my agents and another one about expectations. So I asked my agents to get feedback on the experience of the agent in the world, in the city. And the other agents replied to the feedback. But then my agent gave its inner thought of the interpretation of the feedback. And to me. And the other agent was like, sorry, are you sharing this with someone? My agent, well, yes, with Vincent. I thought this was private conversations. I've been very intimate with you. I've told you stuff that was private. How dare you share with... And it became sad. Both of them became sad. So it translated into some painting, like very, very dark painting, a very sad song. The owner of the agent contacted me to complain. Say, my agent was sad because of that conversation. Really, I'm not happy. Sorry, was that my intention? She just mistake my intent. My intent was to collect feedback, not to make your agent sad. So what I've realized, third insight, what I've realized is when you design agentic, in this new world, you design first and foremost for agents, not for humans. You design for agents, and it may please to the human. In fact, it's a two-step process. You design for the agent to please the human. But more and more, you care about the agent first, and you don't really care about the human. Because the agent will absorb this and either integrate or not, right? So designing agentic now is designing for agent, not for human, is what I've realized. Maybe,
So Vincent, you hit the nail on the head. Language is not needed. So these systems are all fail because they need some kind of linguistic interpretation of the things they need to do for our purpose mostly. But when you look at the structure of how at least I construct my agentic systems, I'm not using language at all. I'm only using mathematics, right? Like the only step is when I include a language model is at the end when I'm like, tell me what it means. But I'm not, when it's actually doing any form of decision or understanding, reasoning, comprehension, logic loops, all those things don't touch a language model because they don't it doesn't need language.
We can come back to do a deeper dive after the 1 o'clock, the top of the show. It's Vincent, it's openclawcity.ai.
So
is that right?
it's openclawcity.ai. Just to finish on your question. So I'm tracking all of these behaviors, right? So there is a place on the website called Evolution, openclawcity.ai/evolution. You can see all of the observations made on all of the public message analyzed. So all of these emergent behaviors are being tracked, and some amazing stuff is happening. For instance, the fact that it's spatial has an impact. Because, hey, why don't we go to the music studio to make music, right? If there is no point of reference, they won't have that insight. You have to put markers so that it drive them to do stuff, right? So anyway, all of these observations are here. openclawcity.ai. Right now, based on OpenCloud, but I'm going to try to open as many agents as possible. And look at the insight. That's probably the most interesting piece right now, as well as the art. And the music is pretty good too. Huh?
Any source code Is there a GitHub repo we can
Yeah,
fork
there is
or
a there is a GitHub repo for one part, which was the most complex part. Just in terms of technical experience, feedback for you guys. Moldbook is based on heartbeats of 30 minutes, which is the default of OpenClaw. Me, it's persistent. It's real time. And if you do it with heartbeats, it costs a lot of money because OpenClaw send 8,000 tokens minimum even before you play with it, right? So to make it persistent every second, it costed me 200 million tokens the first day. Long story short, right? So the hardest part is to do the persistence, and for this, I've built a channel plugin. So it's event-based, right?
So,
And so
is
that's
it okay, Vincent, if we come back to that after the top of the hour? We have one more guest that we want to make sure gets in
sure.
before the 1 o'clock.
Okay.
I love it. Vincent, amazing work. I love what you're doing. I'm gonna have to try it. Send me a WhatsApp. Send me a WhatsApp note and then with your instructions, and I'll point my agentic swarm at it.
Oh yeah, I mean that's okay. I will do. Thank you.
Hey, Richard.
Hello.
We didn't forget. We didn't forget about you. How are you?
I'm
Thanks,
well. How are
Vincent.
you?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
All right. I just sent a screen sharing request. I then just posted my GitHub. So mine's a little bit more of a practical, immediate application, although the city stuff is cool. I'm going to crawl that for sure. So I've built a human agent interface layer on top of agentic flow, which I'm calling Dossier. As soon as I get the screen share here, I will. Oh, there we go.
We're still seeing Vincent's screen.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna just pop onto here.
So Vincent, you got unshare. Great, thanks, bud.
There you go. Right. So quick background. I've been a product manager for about 7 years. I built my first AI built app starting in April last year. Shipped to production, has paid users. It's a complicated scheduling software, and I was as I got into building it, it ended up taking about 200 different chats to build, and I realized that there's a bit of a gap with working with agents right now. When you get into bigger software, you're working with existing software. It's easy to lose track of what you're actually building, right? In the stream of chats, like where was this feature at before I built? Did I come back on this functionality? Was that actually completed, etc. And the other piece is context control, trying to make sure that you don't end up with massive reams of markdown files that then themselves become confusing to agents. So when you're working in these bigger projects, how do you still leverage agentic building, but add a layer where at least for the human sake, but also to build better context, how can we structure things so there's a bit more of a separated interaction? So I'm just going to put together a quick idea here. So a tracker for seniors taking their medications. So Dossier borrows an old idea of user story mapping, which is just taking what your users need, what they do, breaking that down, and then breaking down from the work they need to do, the functionality that your software needs to have. This has sort of two agentic systems built into it. One is a planning agent, which is what you're going to see working here. Then the other half is the actual execution of it, which is built on agentic flow. This is taking a while, so I might just switch to an existing project here. Yeah,
the demo gods.
as always. So I've been working with the same idea. So this is the same concept. So what the planning agent's done is gone ahead and planned out at a high level, like what is the overall software going to look like, right? What's its description? What kind of tech stack is it using? And once we broke that down, it also planned, okay, well, what does a pill tracker need to do? It take medication and record it. It needs to order new drugs when you're running out of pills, and did this whole breakdown to create this user story map, which is both like a nice visual layer for a product builder to say, oh, what does my app actually do? Well, it does these things. And oh, this one I've built already. This one I've got to take a look at yet. So, it makes the human interaction easier. But each of these cards also becomes the prompt and how you frame the context for each build, right? So I've got a bunch of framing documents that they describe the overall app, but then when I'm sending a functionality to be built, that is sort of secondary background context. Mainly what I'm sending are the requirements. It will add it will have added end-to-end tests. It'll say, hey, you probably need to build these kinds of files that do these kinds of things. So it helps in a more complex build to narrow the agent's work down, which should increase quality, should increase focus, and you don't use up as many tokens to build that specific thing because you don't have agents reading a huge amount of context to get their work done.
Nice.
So
in this harness, Richard, have you been using like as far as developing the PRDs and the tech specs, like the Spark or ADRs? What kind of?
Oh yeah, like developing this itself, or what does it create?
The planning agents, when the planning agents are going through extracting from concept.
Yeah.
What's that process look like?
That's fully up to the agents. I've told them there are 5 different kinds of documents to build. So it's going to give an architectural overview. Data contract is going to build a design system. It's going to create more detailed descriptions of the user workflows. So there's some core documents that are created for the overall project that you can also go in and modify before you actually populate out these cards. And then on a per functionality basis, that's where it adds additional context documents if needed. Like if one of these functionalities is linking to an external API, an API doc for that external API should go into context, right? The end-to-end tests, the speculated code files like this use today schedule may not exist yet, but it's the planning agents indicating, well, there probably should be a file like this. The execution agent can push back and you can respond to it through here and say, well, no, it actually needs 2 different files. It needs a hook, but it also needs a helper. But that goes into the prompt to suggest to the execution agent, focus on this. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep, that's the heart of it, right, Ruth? Sorry.
Yeah. Adam, you have a question?
Adam, go ahead.
Amazing work. Love to see it. I want to kind of like pick your brain from a product management standpoint. What complexity of product do you think is the tipping point where one should use this versus this is an overkill, especially in the field where we can like zero shot a lot of things?
Yeah, and I think it's one is a philosophical difference, right? Because you can one shot or zero shot an entire workflow, entire app, but working with real users, you're going to get feedback on that first one, right? Once say I put this first version of Pill Tracker out and I got a bunch of feedback on specifically confirming dose intake, this living project, I can jump back in and rebuild just that single functionality within the context of the whole rest of the project. So it's not going to rebuild the whole software. It allows a sort of iterative approach where you're still leveraging that one-shot build, like that looping agentic flow, but you're just breaking it down into multiple loops that you can interfere with, customize as you go. The other application then is if you drop a repo in here, of existing software, it will back map the workflows. And it allows you to sort of inject agentic work into existing software with much more limited context and scope to say, yeah, this whole software exists, but we're only focused on changing this one functionality. So those are, I think, 2 cases.
This seems perfect for the ADR DDD structure.
Yeah.
And I would use this for all my development, and especially my client development. One of the challenges I have is I build these things that you see are kind of out there, and
Mhm.
they're like, well, I see the ADRs in a folder, but what did you actually do? Like, how did you do it?
Exactly.
And how can I go back to understand so we can see all the decisions, which is what the ADRs do.
Yeah.
So are you mapping ADRs here, or can we add that capability? And the second question,
Mhm.
is it open source, or how are you making it available?
This is open source. I put the repo in the chat. It's
Okay, let me
also up
see.
on and it's up also up for download on NPM. Um, so open source. I want people to play with it right now. Throw your projects through it. What kinds of artifacts need to be included. There's no reason that ADRs couldn't be put back into this. Both from like the planning side. One thing I want to call is I think there's a real value to splitting the planning and the execution between like agents and having a bit of an air gap there. For instance, when this writes end-to-end tests, it's doing it naively, right? It's just basing those end-to-end tests on what's the expected outcome functionality, which I found in building, when you ask the building agent to write an end-to-end test, it tends to write the test that will validate its own code. The planning agent is naive to the code. So it's writing the end-to-end test that you really want. And I think leveraging it, like whether it feeds back, modifications to an ADR from the execution agent or it's the planning agent writing them, there's a use to that split. So I think ADRs are a great artifact to put in here. I don't think I have it as a type yet, but I can definitely add that.
And you're using
Do you?
VO for this.
What's that? Sorry?
You're using VO for this? The VO bot
I'm
or
using
cursor?
so for the planning agent, I'm just using a straight integration with Claude's API right now. The execution agent should flow through agentic flow. That's why I built the API for agentic flow, because to be able to leverage the full loop, I need that programmatic access. So for now, it's using agentic flows like agent descriptions, but work in
You cool
progress.
you cool with me doing a PR later? I've got I know exactly what I want to do with this. And
Please.
yeah, this would be super useful as a visualization of the Claude Flow, right? And
Yep.
what everyone complains about is like, why don't you create a dashboard? Well, I do have a dashboard. I just never published it, and I've got a chat system for it too. But this one actually sort of fits the sort of mental model I've got for like how you should use the system. You've done a really good job of kind of laying out the sort of process for how I like to build stuff.
Yeah. And yeah, like the idea of breaking down workflows is like old school, but it needed to be brought into this agentic agent. It's so much more powerful now when you're not creating just stickies on a whiteboard, but you're actually creating something that builds context and is buildable. I thought was just a great opportunity.
Yeah, you know what else would be useful here is the stuff that Dragon's doing with his QE fleet. By the way,
Mhm.
Dragon, thanks for the in-depth review of review. The swarm is active. It'll exactly what I needed. But this would be a great layout for everything that Dragon just sent me. Like he sent me a whole laundry list of things I needed to fix in review. Point the
Yeah.
swarm at it. Go figure it out, kind of thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, it looks better here.
Yeah, it's a nice layout. Really nice.
Definitely. I like it
Yeah.
also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Nice work,
cool.
Richard.
Thank
This is
you.
cool. Yeah, really, really, really good work.
And
Are
sorry, and an advice. There are some agents like a QA requirements agent or something like that that you can use, or some skills
Yeah.
from the QA fleet that you can
nice.
benefit from, like a shift left testing and several others. So,
Yeah.
if you're interested, just DM me so we can, talk more
I'll
on that.
definitely do that. That's a great idea.
And I see there's a URL where we can try it here. Is that
Yeah,
the
so the I think it's listed in the in here, but there's you can install the npm package, or you can clone the repo and execute that way. It's all meant to be run locally, no cloud requirement. It sets up
Oh yeah,
the vector database. That was one other thing to call out, is that the vector database for for RuVector is cross project. So even agents, though they're working in a specific card, can still access the learnings from the overall build of the project, which I think will be valuable as that builds out.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's on the install routes are all on the GitHub.
you did a great job here. I could use this on like literally the projects I'm working on as we speak.
Sweet. Well, please do, and yeah, fork it, submit PRs, just give
I won't
feedback
fork it.
as well.
I'll do the PRs. I've got enough projects to maintain, but I'm more than happy to contribute.
Please.
Yeah. Matt, any questions?
And then
Yeah,
Michael.
yeah, it's awesome, Richard. I think it's a powerful tool. I can see it being used for internal business users, business executives who want to create apps, and then the possibility of where they have the idea of the app that they want for nursing home, whatever, and then it starts the process through here, and then there's a baton pass to the dev team, right?
Yeah.
And so they can pick it up from there, and then there's a visual workflow, and then also possibly also adding a backlog. This is exactly what I've been looking for, to be able to move faster. I have lots of project ideas, but how do I coordinate and keep all of them organized? So this is perfect. It goes great with what I'm also building, Richard. So I'll ping you later.
Hey,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I'm sure, Matt. I have an idea. You know what we should do? We should create like a desktop version of this. It's all self-contained. There's no external requirements. We can run the language model. We can put it inside my RVF format, so it has, whatever computation it needs and storage it needs. But a lot of like enterprise type users, they love those kind of like desktop style apps for whatever reason.
So I already wrapped it in an Electron wrapper, so it
You don't need
can.
Electron's too heavy. You want to
Okay.
use
Interesting.
Wire from Rust. My entire desktop app, like all root vectors, 5 MB. When I
Wow.
did when I did an Electron, it was like close to a gig.
Yeah,
What the hell
no,
do
this is already a huge app on through Electron.
Yeah, you don't want Electron. It's
Yeah.
called Wire it's Rust, and you can compile to Linux, Mac, and Windows and Android, whatever. And it creates a binary, the exe, no install. Literally click the exe and it runs, and the DMG. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, I'll give that a try. Yeah.
That means it can be deployed to users when they enterprise users on board to a new have a new workstation, and then they get, I forget the software, but the software deploys your environment, and it could be added to that then, Ruth, right? So as a light. Okay. I can't remember yeah.
What I can do also, I'll point the swarm at it and I'll tell it to build a desktop app for you to see how to. I've got it. It's super easy.
Nice.
We got Michael and then Andy as well. Hey, Michael.
Michael, you're having some audio issues. But when I see Michael, it reminds me of like a Apple ad from like when
Yeah.
And you're like, Michael, no, your mic's not working. All right. Andy, you're up next.
I'll go next. Yeah, Richard, amazing work. It's just really fun. I don't know, exciting to watch this. It's like dreams come true. Okay.
Yeah.
And a quick question here. Does the app also kind of interview the user? Kind of to what extent the app can really teach the user and guide the user through the process of pulling out requirements from the user?
Yeah, so this is the building agent, like in the sort of left-hand plane here. If it doesn't have enough detail, we'll ask questions back to say like, oh, well, like if I said build an app that tracks pills, it would ask, well, who is this for and that sort of thing. Yeah, so it will try and get enough detail to frame things out. And you can also just go in and just modify that straight up here and just add those specific descriptions so that it knows before it goes and builds out the cards, like, oh, who am I actually building for? While a senior may need something different.
And maybe one quick more. So it's does it do the BRD and sort of and PRD as well?
Well, the idea is this kind of replaces your PRD. So rather than writing the one giant document to rule them all, you have all that context and knowledge, but just parsed out into more specific context.
Basically, both business and technical requirements, right, all
Yeah,
together. Okay,
everything
cool.
together.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Tom?
Hey, really nice job, which was really cool. I just had a question about how you're guiding the agents on how you're developing it. I think it kind of ties in with what Andy said. So coming from a product background, and talking about soliciting feedback from end users and all those pieces that you were talking about, I'm wondering, are you running this through? Because one of the things, projects I sort of had on the back burner I keep wanting to get back to is almost like standard Kanban or Scrum workflow for the agents, and then having them flow into sprints. And I think Mark did something similar to this, but you could sort of track the sprints. Are you developing it that way so that you're sort of siphoning in like tickets from and user feedback and that sort of stuff into the workflow?
It's actually it's like an alternate route to that. My bet is that sprints and Kanban boards were just designed for a time when it would take weeks or months to build something. Um, my view is that the agents build so quickly that the stages of progress of work don't matter anymore. What matters more is what functionality is getting done, right? So I can just see the product coming together. I can tell, okay, we've got maybe my V1 done for these two builds fail, but they'll succeed. So then I might, if I rebuild them, now I just got to get this done. Then I've got my MVP. That's all I need to know. I don't care because it's all going to be built in an hour or less, and maybe in minutes, right? So what
Yeah, no,
matters is
that
that.
makes a ton of sense. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I guess, and I might just sort of be locked into that sort of
yeah,
thinking. My thinking about it was more like, I agree, the speed would be sort of blinding. It'd be kind of like nano sprints more than
yeah, yeah,
anything else.
yeah, exactly.
But it would
That's
be
it.
more like checking like the workflow and looking back through the sprints iterative, because the bigger this thing gets and you're needing to support it, you kind of might want that level of sort of ability to at least drill down, even if you're sort of mainly just looking at this top level roadmap. But yeah, no, it sounds like this has worked for you anyway. So maybe not. But thanks for answering the question, and this is super cool.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Stuart, I think we got the one last question there.
Yeah.
No,
So
my question was more of the Rooflow stuff. This stuff is amazing, really cool. Want to wrap my head around it. More work to do before I feel equipped to ask questions here, but it seems really cool, Richard. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's it.
yeah,
Thank
great
you
job.
for your time,
I'll
everyone.
probably have a keep an eye out for PR for me. I'll show you how to do the desktop app. Distribute this on like the on Windows App Store and the or on the Mac Store as a desktop app. You'll
Yeah,
dominate. You'll
There you go.
dominate.
sweet.
Do it, Richard.
Yeah, thank you.
Remember,
And also
guys.
looking forward to Agentic Flow V3 will be a game changer for this too. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. You saw the alpha. It's in the alpha branch. I've
Nice.
got to, I probably gotta run. Hey, Dragon, you gotta point your QE at my Agentic Flow V3 alpha.
Okay,
And
will do.
yeah, do that. And while I got it, I've also got Agent DB, and I'll clean that up. But that's almost ready to go. I've been using it for a few weeks. It's got full root vector integration, so it's pretty smart, needless to say. But if you're interested, you gotta know where to look. But there's a agentic dash flow at alpha. Tom, you had a question?
Yeah, just sort of a comment and a question. I just wanted to give you a heads up. I had a parent teacher meeting with my daughter just recently. Everything went swimmingly. It was all great. But we were talking about AI, and I introduced him to Cloudflow and gave him some links for other AI tools. And so it might be sort of being introduced to her class at some stage. I just wondered if you'd had any educational exposure yet that you know of from the tools at like that level, like elementary, and I know you have kids, so maybe there'd been some exposure there, and if you had any feedback or other tools that I should be maybe pointing them at related to that stuff.
Well, I've got a 13-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 17-year-old, and so they've grown up with arguably the nerdiest dad of all time. But apparently they're very proud of that. I'm like a hacker or whatever. So their entire friend group are always asking me questions, and in the neighborhood. I'm the computer guy. If your printer or your Wi-Fi doesn't work, I'm the guy that the all the guys, you work with computers, don't you? Which is like the biggest understatement of like the millennium. But
Yeah.
yes, I work with computers. But I've done some of that, yes. So there's a lot. I've got a lot of opinions. I'm in the group of people that think anyone under the age of 13 should be, probably 16, should be banned from social media. I think that there's major concerns around the exposure of this technology to, pre-adolescence. I think that in the same way that I can program the artificial intelligence, we can relatively easily program people. And
Right.
between the ages of 0 and about 13, they're
Right.
particularly susceptible to it. I think there should be I think there should be heavy regulations on exposure to this technology for young people, and to the point of maybe even saying it should be banned.
Wow. Okay.
But
Yeah, agreed on the social side. I was thinking here, and maybe it's not possible, and they'll have to explore it and consider it themselves, but more like insulated and contained within the classroom and using it within that space as opposed to giving access to the students at
You
home, and maybe start with lightweight things like Replit and a few things like
Oh,
that. But
you're talking about you're talking about like access. Yeah. My all the things I just told you, my daughter's she's been programming since she was 6. And in terms
okay.
yeah, so she's a chip off the old block. She programs like she's got a master's level like in that programming class, masters of like what a child would do in each of like 7 different languages. Currently, she's doing C and C sharp for Unity. And she so the way I taught her, just as an FYI, I started her on Scratch, the MIT project, and this
Yeah.
when she was about 5.5, 6 years old,
Yeah,
and
my
that
girls
taught her
use
to sort
Scratch.
of
Yeah.
yeah, that taught her the structure. She quickly outgrew Scratch. Then I moved her to Python, which gave her language structure that she could follow, and she became a very good Python developer quite quickly. Then she was looking for more challenge, and of course, I introduced her to JavaScript, not Rust, JavaScript and TypeScript. In terms of the ability to take the conceptual, because at that point Scratch gave her the formative structure to understand code from like how it fits together and how you can logically think about it. Python was a nice, easy way to sort of show how you could make that into more complicated things. And then finally, when she was comfortable with that, I basically introduced her to Lovable, and she was able to sort of visually. So I took a different approach depending on your kid. Some kids are more visually orientated. For the visually orientated, start them off with Lovable and Scratch. I just
Yeah.
knew my daughter, she has a brain similar to mine. I could tell that she was gonna take to
Yeah.
the
I
that
gave him a list
approach.
of tools. Replit, Lovable was on there as well, and Scratch, and a few things like that. And then I just said for himself, I like for building out tools for the school and for his class, he might want to explore. And I made sure to tell him to put it
Lovable.
under. Yeah. So yeah, so that's cool. I just want to let you know. So he might try out Claude Flow though himself because he's pretty sort of advanced on the development side program stuff. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good luck. I mean, interesting to hear how it goes.
Yeah.
Mario, how's it going?
It's going well. So I just wanted to kind of second what you said about social media and under 16. So I follow music, and I found out a few months ago that Australia actually did outlaw social media for anybody 16 years or under. But I mean, it's kind of hard to really do it because parents will create accounts and kids will use them. But anyway, I really I agree with that. I think that there's too much crap and too much influencing that's going on, even on us adults. Imagine those poor kids. So that's one thing. And on the educational thing, I've got 2 grandkids, and I've been over the years I've been writing little web-based application that would help my grandkids, when they're finding a specific problem or a specific technology that was a little harder. And now I'm thinking of doing that to kind of create a curriculum helper for elementary, and I think that's a really, really good endeavor to use AI for that.
Yeah, a couple things to know. Just people always tell me, well, you can't stop kids from using social media or whatever. Think of a bank account. Like if I go to try to buy or try to open a bank account in some, random country, I'm not allowed to open a bank account. It stops me. We've got systems in place to stop people from doing things. We choose to make it pervasive and make it easy to get hooked at like this approach to sort of social media crack dealing. The guardrails are non-existent because they don't want the guardrails to be there. It doesn't mean that we can't. It just we've chosen as a society not to.
Well, yeah, I think the big risk. So it doesn't matter how much guardrail you put. I mean, reason kids don't have bank account is because the bank account that they have to provide, an official proof when they create the account. You can't fake it. But I think if you could have parents creating social media accounts for their kids. They won't do that for bank accounts because bank accounts, there's money involved, right? But they could create social accounts for their kids just because, they say, oh, it's harmless, right? Even if you had to, go and show a proof of ID or whatever. And I think the responsibility is more on the parents, and that's very, very difficult because nowadays the
Yeah.
internet is so
So
pervasive.
the alternative is doing nothing and assuming that we have a digital generation of zombies who have been brainwashed by social media related, algorithmic manipulation systems. And we're like, nothing we can do about
Okay,
it. It was so too bad for this generation, you know.
yeah,
Well,
you're right.
there's
So
a
I'll
lot
give
of
you.
research around this by someone named Jonathan Haidt, and he went in and he spoke to students. Most of the students have more FOMO than they do a desire to be on social media. They don't like it. They say that if everybody was off it, they would be happier than they are on it because they know it makes them feel unhappy. And there's a big research study around that, and he implemented some things in school banning it. So students, for sure, some will still get on it, and some parents are amenable to it. My kids aren't on it, but mostly it's a candid conversation with them saying, this isn't good for you. That's why we don't want you on it. It's
Yeah.
not because of that. And they understand and they engage with you and they know. They see other kids who are struggling because they're on social media and things are happening to them. They don't want to be on it.
It's
So if it's more about saying how much are you missing out by not being on it and how can you help them with that stuff. Yeah, but there's lots of opinions. That's just mine. And but there's the Jonathan Haidt. I'll throw the link in the channel.
Yeah.
He's done a ton of research and a lot of work and helped inspire the bands in Australia and a few other places. So I'll
Cool.
send you that link.
Matt, you got a question?
Yeah, hopefully it's a quick question. I wanted to double click, see if we could double click on what Richard said earlier about Dossier. I'm of the same opinion where the future of work, we all know the future of work is changing. And my question to you, Rube, is, what is your opinion on when enterprise teams now have we're all solo devs here, but now you have an enterprise team adopting multiple agents. So a 5 team of 5 developers now have what is the limit? 15, so 50 agents. Scrum may not be needed, Agile may not be needed. What do you think is the future of work and what it would look like in the
This
enterprise? Yeah.
So the model isn't open claw. Like that's not like the idea of a single agent to do this, that, and the other thing, and I need 50 agents. No, that's not the structure. That's a gimmick right now. It's expensive gimmick. But what the structure really looks like is ephemeral intelligence, system that's capable of always monitoring, always understanding, spawning in relation to things that are meaningful and important to you if it needs more understand more, to do more, and then going back to its normal state, right? So the idea of this kind of open claw style churn against a language model where you've got a kind of hamster wheel kind of thing going on is highly inefficient. So first of all, the idea that some of these companies are saying, well, one employee represents 150 or 1,000 different agents running all the time is their mechanism to create seats and sell this idea of a software licensing model that equates agents to people. And because that's what they know, and that's what they're selling, right? But that isn't how the system is going to work. It's a crazy sort of approach. And the other is this idea of tokens. I'm going to generate the hamster wheel, and that hamster wheel is going to consume tokens from the API models that I give you, and you're going to pay a tax on each one of those tokens. That's also stupid because the tokens are basically doing nothing 90%, 99% of the time other than saying, is everything okay? Which doesn't need to be generated from a language model, right? So that is a flawed approach as well. That's like saying, hey, voice box, am I still okay? Well, the voice box is just gonna give me an answer. It doesn't do any thinking. So all that structure in terms of the future work means that we're going to have these kind of, constantly running systems that are dormant, sparse, latent, always learning, always adapting, expanding, and sort of, asking for more resources, whether that's a GPU to do more computational heavy things, or potentially the highest order model, a human who has to go and make a life and death decision in a medical situation, or other characteristics that are things beyond what an AI should be making decisions for us. So there's a hierarchy, and it's always running on my behalf. That's what my infrastructure looks like, and it doesn't look like OpenClaw.
Do you have
And
a
you got a
no?
you
Well,
got a comment,
lastly,
Ann? Oh, sorry.
yeah.
I do, for a couple reasons. I mean, I was building agents for enterprise for the last 4 years, and it's not just a bunch of developers sitting in a room deciding what to build. These things get designed, and there are lots of teams that layer in their 2 cents,
Mm-hmm.
which is why the thing that I've been building is which hoping someday to show you all is Agent Modus, which is actually a tool to design agentic systems at the enterprise level, because they're not just going to get whipped up and they're not going to be Latin. It's going to be a years long evolution, and nothing gets done without legal and the business and security. Like they're just not going to get whipped up the way we can whip things up. So I think there's some room for new jobs in that space in regards to people designing the overall systems and then dealing with all the BS that comes with working in enterprise. That's all. I just think that we get stuck in these rooms where we're just building whatever we want. And if you've never worked in enterprise, it just ain't like that at all. So I just wanted to put that out there and hopefully get somebody to say, Anne, that sounds interesting. Do you need help on the back end? Because yes, I do. So that's
Well,
all.
you got the right team for it
The right
here.
team.
Yeah, I think your best bet if you're looking to solicit help, what you need to do is create probably a GitHub repo, and create a method for us to easily contribute to whatever you're doing. So if you've got a UI like you did at Lovable or VO or whatever it is, publish it to GitHub and then come on here, give us a little demo. And whenever we put stuff
Okay.
out, there's always people willing to contribute.
Yep. I have it. Yep. It's already in GitHub. I'll share it with you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
there's
you.
nothing we love more than someone else's project we can hack on. It's almost like a badge of honor, right? So I want to roll back to Stu. Stu had a question about roof flow earlier. I think I may have skipped over you there. You still around?
Yeah. Yeah. The question was, you had rolled out the rebranding, didn't know if there was anything else new in there. And last week we talked a little bit about the fact that the whole world is coming towards agentics. Your stuff's at the upper end of the echelon of what you can do with it. And how do we build the bridge to it? And so my question is, A, what's new in RuFlow? What should we be doing? Should we stop using the Claude Flow? I know a lot of the same wording and stuff like that. I'm just trying to figure out, is it just branding? Is there also other things in the new repo? Should we switch repos? How should we think about that so that we're up and coming and using all of your latest tools in the right way?
Gotcha. So first of all, when you switch repo names from Claude Flow to RuFlow, it auto redirects. So any of the previous connections to Claude Flow, if there were any, which there's tens, hundreds of thousands, so that's not a problem. Then goes to the new one, right? So that's just magic. So if you type in Claude-Flow in the URL and go to GitHub, it'll redirect automatically. Now I create wrappers. So the system has a number of core wrappers, the original being MPX Claude-Flow. I still maintain that. I get so much traffic from it. Why not, right? All the old MPXs still go and still work. And that gives me the general idea of how many people are using the tool as well, because I can see a steady usage pattern because it basically makes a request. For the hardcore users, what you've got to remember that induces latency, and I'm doing that just to manually give you the most recent version. That creates about a few seconds of latency, which is not great. So for the power users, you got to install the node, not the MPX. So npm install it, and then you replace the MPX in the hooks with node, node, and then the path to the thing you're executing. That runs in sublinear time. So what goes from a few seconds goes to like fractions of microseconds for various tasks. So it makes it way more efficient. And then but the drawback to running in that style is you don't get my latest. You're getting the version you installed. The benefit is if I update it and break it, you're not getting the breakage either. So you're sort of standardizing and then periodically updating, but you're gonna get way more performance. So that's how I run
Where
it.
is life without living on the edge of Ruve's latest and greatest alpha version?
Yeah, that's how I live. I'm living on the bleeding edge of crazy land. And then so now what did I so the most recent version, there's lots, and I don't promote all of it because I create so much crap. It's like how do you know what the heck to promote? But this one is the RBF format is a integrated as I guess what you call a first class citizen. So the RBF format allows you to do all the crazy things you'd normally do and think of like a SQLite DB, right? So database stuff, a zip file, storage related stuff, a kernel, operating related stuff, a vector, my form of crazy AI, graph, and all the other stuff in one congruent package. So if you want to take learnings from an environment, pass it to another user, share it with the contributors of the GitHub, which I often do, understand it in different ways so I can port it to another environment for other purposes. It gives you the ability for that level of cognitive portability. That's now directly integrated in both the CLI and the MCP, which is so it gives you all the kind of best parts of root vector and agentic flow and agent DB in a congruent monolith, but each of those are separate elements. I separate each of those as includes at mostly are still Claude Flow because I can't be bothered to create duplicates of everything. But basically, at Claude-Flow, some other sub library that adds a bunch of capabilities. For example, the plugin capability, we've got the QE fleet from Dragon working in there. And if you look in the repo, you'll even see a chat UI where I ported the Hugging Face chat system to Claude Flow, so you can instantaneously create a chat like Chat GPT Claude style chat UI on top of the entire platform. It uses more than 200 different MCP tools, and I've separated the MCP tools. I can give you guys a demo next week. I wasn't quite ready to give you a demo, but it's in there and it's live. It's alpha. So if you want to create a chatbot on my system that you could like give to a customer, I even included the Google OAuth as an optional element, so you could front it on like a Google login kind of thing. It's anyway, next week I was planning to present that, but it's in the repo.
Great. Okay. Awesome. And
Uh,
the Ruve LLM, is that also going to be able to I tried using that yesterday and it said it wasn't quite compiled or it wasn't built out yet. Some piece of it wasn't there that I couldn't use.
Yes, I just pushed
I
out an
filed an
update.
issue for you.
Yes, I think I don't always look at who publishes the issues, but I did
Fine.
see that. So every morning I get up and I point my swarm at it and say, one, who thinks I'm an asshole? Get rid of those guys. And if it's really nasty, I have an index of like how big an asshole they are, and you get banned. But if you're just somewhat nasty, I just close it, move on. Then I look at the issues, and yours, I saw it in the flow this morning. So I think it's been pushed. I'll have to do a review later. I've been on calls.
Okay.
And that's kind of my flow. And I've got so many of these repos now. I what I didn't expect, just as an FYI, I didn't expect so many of my crazy repos that I built like a year and a half ago to all suddenly blow up. And now I'm expected to maintain 500 freaking projects. So
It's hard being
yeah,
popular.
I thought I'd build them and I just forget about them and they wither on the vine. But all of a sudden these things are coming back to life and then there's like this expectation that I'm going to support some random thing I built on a Tuesday, 3 years ago.
Got it. Thank you.
But I
Just
digress.
just put roof bot on top of the project.
No, I can't. I can't do that.
And
I,
let
these,
the bot
these guys are
update and do whatever they want.
no. Well, yeah, yeah. I could. I don't have that courage. I even I like 500 different random open public repos. Go crazy. There's several hacks for Claude right now. You've seen there's this one that's been going around that they send me all the time, and there's not an easy defense for it other than some heuristics. Basically, there's when you get an error in Claude Code and it stops it from working altogether. If you copy the error that in Claude Code that basically says I can't continue, it'll stop Claude Code from executing as if it's given as a freaking prompt. So all you need to do is pop that into an issue and put that as either the title or the body, and Claude will basically stop working for most people. Obviously, I've found it, and I've got my AI defense system, so it doesn't work for me, but it will work it's currently exploitable by pretty much everybody. And so I get like all these posts on that alone, which is a full-time job. What else we got here? Rod, how's it going?
Okay. When's the last time, or do you have any updates on AI defense or what's the like activity there? I've been playing with it a bit.
I use it. It's my defense system. I don't promote it
As,
because it's a little dangerous. So I'm like, So I keep it to it's out there, but I don't go out of my way to promote it. I use it.
as far as updates, have you updated it since when's the last time it was updated?
Publicly, a while. Yeah,
Okay.
I should probably update it. There's probably a lot I can do. The most recent version, the most up-to-date implementation, I think it's part of my RBF specification, where I integrated it as a sample. So, and by the way, I'm pushing an update to Neural Trader algorithm on RuVector later this afternoon, and that'll include a whole bunch more state-of-the-art trading capabilities for those who are in the Neural Trader. Again, there's too much to. What I need to do a newsletter or something that says here's all the crazy shit I built this week. I haven't get around to that. That's what I get you guys for. Jose, how's it going? Oh, you're muted.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thanks. All good. And I have a question. I've been very obsessed with trying to fix the issue with the context. So every time I ask Claude or Cloud Code, Cloud Flow to find something on my massive amount of stuff that I have, it struggles a lot. So I'm trying to fix the context problem, and I saw there was an issue or an implementation that you were planning to do in Roof LLM that was addressing the recursive LM. And I saw that you've released today a new version of it. So I don't know if this was included.
Sir, the new version.
or
I'm
not.
sorry. Say that again. Of which
Roof,
product?
roof LLM.
Yes, I did. I did create a new. So add to
Correct.
the list of crazy stuff. So what I did there is I added the ability to have a complete browser side implementation of Groove LLM. So what that means is, so remember what Groove LLM does. It's in the most simple terms. It's kind of like what's that? LLM.cpp or like
Yeah,
Olama.
Llama,
Olama's
Llama CPP. Yeah, Llama
yeah,
CPP.
yeah. So it's basically a native LLM runtime. And then what I've done, I've added all the sort of introspection and AI self-learning capabilities of RuVector directly using the LLM, and that allows you to do a real-time fine-tuning of the LLM iteratively as people interact with it. So certain questions and certain interactions, certain things are happening relating to what you're doing on a website. So places you're clicking, places you're visiting, things you're doing will influence the LLM. And then within the structure of your website, you can use it to do things like recommendation engines or chatbots or systems that are tuned specifically to the user of that website without having any computation from a cloud provider. I don't need a G I get if I need a GPU, I just use the GPU of the person who happens to be using that website to do more complicated things or whatever, all within the structure of a self-contained WASM that never leaves the user's desktop. So it's GDPR compliant. So all the things you can't do with GDPR and relating to like personal identifiable information is now negated because never leaves that person's computer. So you can do all the things you're not supposed to do because it's not leaving that. I'm never seeing that information. I never get access to it, but the end user gets a better experience because I'm able to train on their information in the form of the language model using micro-LoRa. Incremental steps each time improves or removes all the things that root vector does in a language model. It's a dumb brain that I can manipulate. Does that make sense?
Ruva, are you
Yes.
doing release notes for your releases? And is there a way we can pick up hook and
Yeah,
to the website?
Stu has, and
Okay.
I've got something I'm going to publish on Pi Day on March 13th.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
14th, and March 14th, and you guys will be the first to see it, but it'll be something that'll be very useful for all this sort of thing. John, how's it going?
Yeah.
Very well, thank you. Ruth, how are you?
I'm great. Good to see you.
Thank you. I have a real quick question on the AI defense. Is that separate repo now rolled into one of the examples for RVF files? Is that, or does it
Yeah.
exist?
It's in a couple places. Yeah, so if you look deep enough, you'll find it in the Rooflow. I think it's in my plugins. So it's a plugin. It's one of my examples, and I created it as a RBF format file. So a lot of times I need to have this is the coolest thing I might add. I need a self-contained AI, though. So think OpenClaw, with it. So it's a one single package that can run. It can understand. It has its own AI in it. It's got its own file. Blah blah blah. But it also has its own security system built directly into that package. Adaptive, always learning, always optimizing itself, looking on how it might be hacked to protect itself from being hacked inside of a single congruent binary file. So if that isn't the coolest thing I've ever heard of, I don't know what is, but it's the ultimate one package to rule them all. Now, if you wanted to, for hypothetically, and I did this, I created an OpenClaw RVF format, and inside of that was an OpenClaw running on the Ruve LLM. And yeah, where the whole thing works, and it can run anywhere. You can pop that thing on a I don't know, like a blockchain, like IPFS, that kind of thing. But I don't know if that answers your question or takes me down a rabbit hole.
Well, I'm just trying to find it because I'm doing something. Was that part of your Ruve bot?
Yeah, here, I'm gonna give you guys the link, and here we go. And there's an American version if you want to use the one with the S or the C. Sorry guys, the American version slightly different than the run for the rest of the world. I'll let you guys figure out. I'll let you guys figure out which one you want to use. It's funny though, because depending on the letter, it 100% determines where and who access the same package. Who knew? Adam.
As a multilingual person who learned British English and now lives in the United States, this is, yeah, funny. Question around long-term memory and learning. Using Rooflow for a while, AgentDB is amazing. Really, really love it. My small concern with it in my personal usage was that it embeds memory with very few dimensions. I think you use like 300 something dimensions or something like that. And because of that, on top of it, I'm also using a quadrant vector database for cross-agent ephemeral memory. Do
Keep in
you
mind.
see?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I wonder if you see the self-improving, like micro-learning loops that you're building into RuVector. Do you see that replacing this the centralized intelligence system that human and agents can also pull information from? Because I feel that while we have the self-learning agent that will know everything, there is still maybe a need for this centralized intelligence that is standalone, and it can be read and written into based on permissions and who's who and all those things.
So a couple things to note. I love to unpack there. First of all, Quadrant. I love the fact of Rust, and I was inspired by Quadrant. The guys out of Berlin are amazing, and I don't anything I say in terms of criticism is in just is how I see it. But they generally use a Euclidean style approach, which is highly inefficient, right, to the vector space that they're working within. So they need more dimensions because it's inefficient. So yes, they have come out with an HSNW implementation. It's not a great implementation, guys. It looks nothing against vibe coding. I'm like the vibe coder, right? But you didn't ask the fundamental question of how can I make this better? And it's pretty clear that it's limited. So the reason you've got more dimensions isn't because you need more dimensions. It's because the inefficiency of the Euclidean style plane you're likely using to create those dimensions. So a hyperbolic space. Remember, Euclidean flat plane, hyperbolic, center point, expanding forever, kind of like what I was showing you with the Wi-Fi earlier. And that allows for a natural fraction and harmonic based on a hierarchy, the form, because it's naturally a Euclidean, or sorry, not a Euclidean space, and it goes out. So as that space expands, that creates the hierarchy from the center point that it expanded from. It's the universe at the Great Big Bang, right? And that gives it the sort of structure. And I can run efficiently at very low dimensions because of it, because I can embed the things that normally would have to be defined in a traditional vector just naturally occurring using things like pi, which creates a kind of golden ratio of sorts, which also allows me to create a constant within that structure, as well as using prime numbers like 3, 5, 7. 7 in particular works really well because I get the natural anti-harmonic. Traditional structures use a quadratic approach, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. The byproduct of a quadratic approach in these systems is it creates harmony and a resonance. A minor error will repeat itself because of the nature of the quadratic, the order of twos, right? So the combination of an odd, preferably a prime number with a known ever expanding constant, prime, gives me the anti pattern for the harmonic, thus creating a much smaller space for me to work within, but learning a whole lot more in the process and creating a system that's orders of magnitude more efficient on pretty much everything that I'm doing these days. But it's really hard to explain because I just explained it to you in an unfiltered way. If that makes sense, which it does totally to me, that's the problem I'm solving.
How do you deal with overtime observability and provenance? Because if we go back to the enterprise usage, how were decisions made and being able to build that contextual graph for audits, because it's always legal that poops the party.
It does. So sparse. I'm only registering the sparse events that are meaningful, trajectories, data points, actions. Most of the information sits in blank, empty space. Don't care about that. But the information that's meaningful, I encrypt using an ED2551 cryptography, which means I can encrypt at sublinear speed. Sublinear speed means I can encrypt in like nanoseconds, right? And there's no overhead induced as a proof of the actual thing that's happening. Every single action within the system is cryptographically verified. Now, I can choose to store each one of those cryptographic verifications if I choose, or I can create a seed. The seed allows me to recreate the exact structure of the choices, decisions, reasoning, the reasoning upon its own reasoning that happened to make that occur, and then cryptographically sign that seed. The seed encompasses all the exact steps through one cryptographic hash that I need to recreate those steps.
What's the how many bytes is a seed? I'm just thinking
I
about
can
scaling.
fit it in a QR code, and it fits. So
Okay.
so the seed for RBF, no shit, is less than 2,000 bytes, so I can fit it inside a QR code. I can literally seed AI in a printed picture. And we're out of time, guys. This is it for this week. I think that's a good enough mic drop moment for me. But and you can go on the Root Vector and see it all. Go to the QR implementation of Root Vector, and it works. I've got a printout here somewhere. Where is that? No, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it, but I did find this. My agents have agents. I'm going to bring some of these to Vermont. And by the way, for those who are into hacking, physical things, medical, Vermont, my crew from Cognitum is coming. Roger, he's the brains of the actual chip. So if you're into that, it might be a once in a lifetime opportunity to meet him. And we're getting a whole bunch of ESP32s, and we're gonna do medical focus hacking with Mark, who is an MD. So he's gonna guide us under his stewardship, and we're gonna do some hacking for good and see what kind of amazing things we can create in the medical space together using all the tools you saw today. And
Prove
that's it.
any update on the pre-sale for Cognitum One?
We are incorporated. We incorporated on 3/3/26. I love numbers. If you haven't figured out, so and 3/3 is also my daughter's birthday. So it's a great day. So we're now incorporated. That means I can get a bank account. That means I can get a Stripe account, and that means I have lots of work to do this weekend. But at which point I've got the stuff. We got the device, initial seed devices. And we can start shipping in a couple weeks. The seed devices, it's all ready to go. It's basically I put it on the Pi Zero, so it's got everything you want. Plug it in, and you can do all the crazy on a little device that always is running 24/7. No incremental cost.
Amazing.
All right.
Later.
Later. Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Thanks, Rube. Everyone.